The next day, Linda stood in front of her wardrobe, carefully selecting an outfit for her coffee date with Kola. It wasn't a date, she told herself. It was just two people getting to know each other better. Nothing more. Yet she couldn't shake the flutter of nerves that danced in her stomach. She hadn't felt excitement like this in a long time, and it felt both thrilling and unfamiliar. She chose a simple yet elegant blouse and a pair of jeans. Something comfortable but nice. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw a woman who had been through a storm and was still standing. A little bruised, but stronger for it. She was no longer the woman who had blindly trusted Chike, nor was she the woman consumed by grief. She was becoming someone new. Kola arrived promptly at noon, as promised. His smile was warm, and when he opened the car door for Linda, she couldn't help but notice the small gestures. The kind of thoughtful acts that Chike had stopped doing a long time ago. They didn't need to be grand. It was just the little things that made Linda feel seen. As they drove to the cafe, the conversation flowed easily. They talked about their university days, their favorite books, and even their dreams for the future. Kola had a way of making her feel at ease, as if they were old friends reconnecting, rather than two people meeting for the first time in years. You know, Kola said as they settled into their seats, I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day, about making new dreams. I think that's really powerful. A lot of people get stuck in their past, holding on to what could have been, instead of creating something new. Linda smiled, her heart swelling at his insight. I used to think the same way. I spent so much time trying to hold on to something that was slipping away. But now I think I can let go. I have to. Letting go isn't easy, Kola said quietly, his gaze meeting hers. But it is the first step towards finding something better. And it's not about replacing what was lost. It's about discovering who you are when the old version of you is gone. Linda felt a tear threatening to escape, but she blinked it away. It wasn't sadness. It was the catharsis of finally feeling understood, of realizing that maybe, just maybe, there was something more for her on the other side of this pain. Thank you, Kola, she whispered, her voice thick. You don't know how much that means to me. He reached across the table, placing a hand over hers. I'm just saying what I believe, and I believe in you, Linda. After coffee, they took a walk through the nearby park. It felt like the first time in ages that Linda had allowed herself to simply enjoy the present, to stop worrying about the future or the past. She allowed herself to be in the moment, in the warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze. As the afternoon wore on, they parted ways with a promise to meet again soon. Linda found herself walking home with a lightness in her step, a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in months. She wasn't ready to fully let go of everything, but she was starting to realize that she didn't have to. That night, as Linda sat on her couch, scrolling through her phone, another message from Chike flashed on the screen. This time, it was different. His words were less about pleading and more about remorse. Linda, I don't know how to make this right. I've ruined everything and I can't go back. But I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I'm sorry. I will always love you. I hope one day you can forgive me. Linda stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. She wanted to respond, to tell him everything she felt, but instead, she put the phone down, breathing deeply. She didn't need to forgive him today. She didn't need to make any decisions. For the first time in a long while, Linda was doing things for herself, and she was okay with that. The days that followed felt like a blur. Linda continued to paint, to reflect, to heal. She spent time with Amaka, talked to Kola, and focused on herself. But no matter how much she tried to fill her life with new beginnings, one thing remained constant: Chike's presence in her mind. He still sent messages, Some were full of sorrows, others were desperate. But Linda had made her peace with her decision. She didn't need closure from him. What she needed was to move forward. And yet, a part of her still couldn't fully let go of the man she once loved. One afternoon, as Linda sat in her favorite cafe, sipping a cup of tea, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call, not a message. She looked at the screen and hesitated for a moment before answering. Linda! Chike's voice crackled through the speaker, weary and regretful. I know you're not ready to hear from me, but I can't stop thinking about you. I've been a fool. I miss you. The words hit Linda harder than expected. The ache in her chest fled for a moment, but she quickly pushed it down. She had come too far to fall back into the trap of his lies and apologies. Chike, she said, her voice steady. I don't think there's anything left to say. You had your chance and you blew it. I know, he whispered, but I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now. I just want you to know how sorry I am and that I'll always love you. Linda exhaled slowly, trying to center herself. She had to be strong for herself, for the woman she was becoming. You love me? She asked quietly. Then why did you betray me? Chike was silent for a long time. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Then don't ask for my forgiveness, Linda replied, her voice unwavering. You can't ask for something you don't deserve. She hung up, staring at the phone for a long time. A tear slipped down her cheek. But this time, it wasn't from sadness. It was from strength. She had taken back her power. That evening, as Linda walked through the park near her apartment, she bumped into an old acquaintance, Musa. He was standing by the bench, looking at the sky as if lost in thought. When he saw Linda, his face broke into a smile. Linda smiled back, surprised by how comfortable she felt around him. How have you been? They spent the next hour talking, catching up on old times. Musa was kind, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in how she was doing. As the conversation flowed, Linda realized something. For the first time since the betrayal, she felt truly seen. When the conversation began to wind up, Musa offered a suggestion. I know you're not looking for anything serious right now, but I would love to spend more time with you, just as friends, no expectations. Linda hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was ready for anything new, but she appreciated the sincerity in his offer. I think I would like that, she said softly. They exchanged numbers and agreed to meet again soon. As Linda walked away, she felt a new sense of hope. Maybe there was something to explore after all. Not in the rush of romance, but in the possibility of new beginnings, of rediscovery. Linda woke up the next morning with a sense of peace she hadn't felt in weeks. For the first time since the betrayal, she didn't feel suffocated by the weight of her emotions. It was as though she had taken a deep breath and exhaled a burden she hadn't realized was there. She picked up her phone and found a message from Musa. It was simple, just a quick, "Good morning, Linda. Hope you have a great day ahead." Her fingers hovered over the screen for a moment before she typed back a reply. "Good morning, Musa. Thank you. You too." It felt easy. It felt right. No pressure, no expectations, just a connection, even if it was small. Later that day, Linda found herself walking into her favorite art supply store. She wanted to start a new painting. She wandered through the aisles, picking up a few brushes, then paused when her gaze landed on a blank canvas. It was as if the canvas was calling to her, urging her to create something new. She walked up to the counter, the canvas in her arms, and smiled at the cashier. "How much is my bill?" She paid and left. The next day, Linda found herself sitting in the front of the blank canvas in her apartment, the smell of fresh paint filling the room. She dipped the brush into the vibrant blue paint and let the bristles glide across the canvas. It felt freeing. It felt like she was reclaiming something that was hers, a part of herself that had been buried for too long. As the colors began to take shape, Linda felt a sense of calm settle over her. She wasn't painting for anyone else. She wasn't painting to impress. She was painting for herself. That afternoon, Linda met Musa for coffee again. As they sat together, he shared a story about a recent trip he had taken, and she found herself laughing at his story. It was easy with him, natural. For the first time, she realized that she wasn't measuring every word, every interaction against her past with Chike. She was just present. Musa noticed the shift in her. "You're different today," he said with a soft smile. "There's a lightness about you." Linda smiled back, her heart lifting. "I think I'm starting to find my way back to myself." He looked at her with understanding, his gaze warm and steady. "That's all that matters, Linda. Finding yourself again." As Linda walked home that evening, she couldn't help but think about how far she had come. She had started from a place of deep pain, and now, even though there were still scars, there was also a sense of hope, a hope she hadn't thought possible. As she neared her apartment building, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and saw that it was a message from Chike. "Linda, I need to see you. I can't keep living with this guilt. Please, just one more chance to explain." The message echoed in her mind, but instead of the old panic she would have felt, Linda felt nothing. The weight that had once carried her down now seemed light as air. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. She was simply done. Linda put her phone back in her pocket and took a deep breath. She wasn't going back to her past. She was moving forward.
You thought you had me under your control, but I'm breaking free, gonna steal the show. You played your games, thought you had me fooled, but now it's time to face the truth. I'm stronger now, won't let you bring me down. I'm gonna rise up, gonna rock this town. You're just a bad dream, a faded memory. I'm moving on, breaking free, burning bridges, leaving the past behind. I'm gonna find a love that's one.
The days seemed to stretch endlessly, each one filled with new discoveries, fresh perspectives, and unsettling moments. Linda had thrown herself into her art, her friendships, and her own personal growth. Yet, despite the progress, a part of her couldn't ignore the weight of the past, and Chike's constant attempts to contact her only made things more complicated. One evening, as Linda sat in her apartment, working on a new painting, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen, Chike's name. She had blocked him months ago, but somehow he still managed to reach her. "Linda, please, I'm outside your apartment. We need to talk. I'll be brief, just 5 minutes." Her heart skipped a beat. The suddenness of his message stirred something deep inside her. She knew she should ignore it, but curiosity gnawed at her. Was he really sorry? Or was this another one of his manipulative games? She stared at the message for a few moments, then made a decision. She wasn't going to let fear control her, but she also wasn't going to let him back into her life without answers. Linda stood at her apartment door, her hand on the doorknob, hesitation clouding her mind. The world outside was silent, but she could hear her pulse in her ears. Should she face him? Should she let him speak and risk reopening wounds she had worked so hard to heal? The doorbell rang, breaking her trance. She exhaled slowly and opened the door. Chike stood there, his eyes weary and desperate. The same man she had once loved, but now he seemed like a stranger. "I'm not here to beg," he said, stepping inside. "I just need you to understand something." Linda's brow furrowed. What could you possibly say that will make things different now? "I was being manipulated," Chike said, his voice cracking. "I wasn't myself when I betrayed you. Cynthia, she had a hold over me, and I didn't see it at the time. I'm not proud of what I did, but it wasn't because I didn't love you." Linda listened, her arms crossed. The words didn't reach her the way they once would have. She had already made her peace. "Chike, I don't need excuses. You made a choice, and I'm living with the consequences. So are you. Chike's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to hurt you. I never meant to destroy us. You did, Linda said simply. And now, I have to live with it. But so do you. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them felt suffocating, thick with the weight of unspoken truth. Finally, Linda took a deep breath. I've forgiven you, she said softly, but I can't go back. We are done, and I'm okay with that. As Chike turned to leave, Linda watched him go, but something inside her felt strange. A tiny whisper of doubt fluttered in her chest. Had she made the right choice? Was she ready to fully move on? Or was there something deeper she hadn't yet uncovered? The next day, as Linda walked through the park, she ran into Kola. He was just leaving his office, his hands in his pockets, and his face lighting up when he saw her. Linda, how are you? He asked, his voice warm and genuine. I'm good, just processing some things, she replied, smiling faintly. Anything I can help with? Kola asked, his tone caring. You know you've been through a lot. Linda hesitated, then shook her head. I think I've just got to figure this out on my own. But Kola's eyes held a glimmer of something else, something she hadn't noticed before. If you ever want to talk, Linda, I'm here. Not as someone from your past, but as someone who wants to see you happy. Linda smiled, appreciating the offer, but there was a tug at her heart. She wasn't sure if she was ready for anything new. She needed time. As they walked together towards the nearest cafe, Kola's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then back at Linda. It's nothing, just work. But the tightness in his jaw told her it was more than that. She didn't pressure him, but her instincts told her something was off. Was Kola hiding something? Later that night, as Linda sat in her apartment, she received a call from Amaka. You won't believe this, Amaka said urgently. I was talking to a friend, and guess who I found out is in town? Cynthia. Linda froze. What? Yeah, Amaka continued. And here's the kicker. She's been telling everyone that she and Chike are still together. Linda's heart sank. She felt a cold rush of disbelief. How could he have lied to her again? Was he still involved with Cynthia? Had he been manipulating her all along, even after their conversation? The news about Cynthia hit Linda harder than she expected. She had moved past the initial shock, convinced she had made peace with her past, but now, everything she thought she knew about her marriage felt like a lie. Chike's attempts to reconnect, his tearful confession, was it all a web of deceit? The next day, Linda found herself in the quiet of her studio, the brush in her hand, but the colors on her canvas didn't make sense anymore. Her mind was too clouded, too consumed by the new truth Amaka had uncovered. The weight of it pressed down on her chest. She had to see Chike. She needed answers. She needed to confront him. That afternoon, Linda stood outside his apartment. Her palms were clammy, her heart pounding. But this time, it was for closure. It was for something far deeper, reclaiming the narrative of her own life. She buzzed the intercom, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. It's Linda, I need to talk. A few moments later, the door clicked open and she walked in. Chike was waiting by the door, his eyes wide with surprise. His face was drawn, as though he hadn't slept in days. I didn't think you'd come. Where is she, Chike? Linda asked, cutting to the heart of the matter. Where is Cynthia? You said it was over, but Amaka told me she's still in town. And you're still lying to me. Chike flinched, guilt flashing in his eyes. I never meant to hurt you, Linda. I swear. Linda took a step forward, her voice firm. But you did, and now you're telling me that you've been lying to me the whole time? I wasn't lying, Chike said, shaking his head. But I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could fix it on my own, but everything got out of hand. Cynthia, she's not just some woman. She's complicated. She's been a part of my life long before you. Linda stared at him, disbelief coiling in her stomach. You're still seeing her? No, Chike exclaimed. Not like that. But we've been through a lot together. I didn't want to hurt you more by telling you everything. Linda's mind was spinning. You didn't want to hurt me? So you hurt me in every other way possible? You've already torn apart everything I believed in. And now you want me to trust you again? She swallowed hard, trying to hold back the tears. I gave you my trust, Chike, and you betrayed me. Chike's eyes filled with regret. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you, but I don't know how to fix this. She turned to leave, but Chike's voice stopped her. Linda, please, I need you to know something else. Linda hesitated, but didn't turn around. What? I've been hiding something else from you, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Cynthia, she's pregnant. Her knees almost buckled, but she steadied herself, her mind reeling with the new revelation. Pregnant? She echoed, her voice shaking. Chike nodded, his face still. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could fix everything before it came to this. Linda stepped back, the ground beneath her feet suddenly feeling unstable. The words hung in the air like a bombshell, crashing into Linda's chest with the force of a hurricane. So all this time, while I was rebuilding myself, you were still tangled in the mess you created, and now you expect me to just understand? I didn't want to keep this from you, but I was afraid you would leave me, Chike said, his voice breaking. I'm sorry, Linda. I truly am. Linda didn't know what to say. Her heart felt like it was being ripped apart again. But this time, she wasn't broken. She was angry, furious. But more than that, she felt a sense of finality. The truth had come crashing down, and with her last hope for reconciliation. I'm done, Chike, Linda said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. I'm done with the lies. I'm done with the games. You've hurt me so much. With that, she walked out of his life for good. Later that evening, Linda met Kola at the cafe. She hadn't expected to feel comforted by anyone, but when she saw his familiar face, something shifted. Kola's smile was warm, genuine, and it eased the tension in her heart. Hey, are you okay? Kola asked, concern clouding his eyes. Linda smiled faintly. I think I am. I'm getting there. Kola motioned to the empty chair beside him. Want to talk? Linda nodded and sat down, feeling an unexpected sense of peace in his presence. As they spoke, Linda couldn't help but notice how easy it was to be with him. Kola didn't ask any questions she wasn't ready to answer, and he didn't push her to reveal things she wasn't ready to share. He simply listened. As the evening wore on, Linda realized something she hadn't fully admitted to herself. She was ready for a new chapter. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she was no longer afraid of it. The days after her conversation with Chike felt like a blur, fuzzy, distant, almost like she was floating above her own life. Linda tried to focus on her art, on her personal growth, but every moment seemed to be interrupted by the sound of Chike's voice echoing in her mind. Cynthia, the pregnancy, the lies. She had tried so hard to make sense of it all, but the more she thought about it, the more confused she became. She had tried so hard to make sense of it all, but the more she thought about it, the more confused she became. How had things gone so terribly wrong? How could someone she had trusted with her entire life betray her so completely? But then there was Kola. He listened without judgment, and for the first time in a long while, Linda found herself smiling again, genuinely. She had even started spending more time with him, meeting for coffee, taking walks in the park, enjoying simple moments she hadn't realized she had missed so much. Still, there was something in the back of her mind that tugged at her, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. Something about Kola seemed off. It was another quiet evening when Linda met Kola at a small bar they had started frequenting. The conversation was light at first, talk of work, art, and family. But as the night wore on, Linda noticed Kola's eyes darting nervously towards his phone, which he kept checking every few minutes. Everything okay? She asked, a frown creasing her brow. Kola smiled quickly, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Yeah, just work stuff. Linda wasn't convinced, but she didn't press him. Not yet. She'd come to enjoy the calm of being in his company, and she didn't want to ruin it. But as they were leaving, Collar's phone rang. He stepped away to answer it, his voice low and serious. Linda couldn't help but overhear a few fragments of the conversation. Words like situation, pressure, and tell her it's too late. Something about the way Collar spoke sent a chill down Linda's spine. Who was he talking to? And what was so urgent that he felt the need to keep it from her? The next morning, Linda couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that had settled over her. She replayed the phone call in her mind, searching for any clues that might explain Collar's sudden intention. But no matter how much she thought about it, there was one question that kept nagging her. Was Collar hiding something from her? She needed answers. That afternoon, she decided to confront him. The decision wasn't easy, but it felt necessary. She couldn't let herself be drawn into another web of secrets. Not after everything she had already been through. She texted Collar, "Can we talk? It's important." A few minutes later, he replied, "Of course, meet me at the usual place." When Linda arrived at the cafe, Collar was already there, looking as if he hadn't slept. His usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by something more guarded. He stood up when she walked in, but there was an awkward tension in the air. "Linda, what's going on?" he asked, his voice hesitant. "I need to know the truth, Collar," she said, sitting down across from him. "Last night, there was something in your voice. Something wasn't right. Who were you talking to?" Collar shifted uncomfortably in his seat, avoiding her gaze. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then, with a deep breath, he looked up to her. "I didn't want to hurt you, Linda," he said softly. "But I think it's time you know." Linda's heart started to race. "Know what?" Collar paused, then leaned forward, his voice low. "I'm not who you think I am." Linda's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" "I've been trying to protect you," he continued, his face tightening with guilt. "But it's all coming out now. I've been investigating Chike. I've been keeping tabs on him for months." Linda recoiled, her confusion turning to shock. "What? Why would you do that?" Collar sighed deeply, his shoulders slumping. "I knew Chike was dangerous, and I knew you were still hurting, so I kept an eye on him, made sure he wasn't going to hurt you again. But what I didn't expect was that I'll start caring about you, really caring, and now I've put you in the middle of something you shouldn't have been involved in." Linda sat frozen, her mind struggling to process what Collar had just admitted. "You've been spying on me?" "No, not spying," Collar said quickly. "I was trying to protect you, but I should have told you sooner. I didn't want to make you feel like a victim again. But this is bigger than I realized. Chike is involved in something dangerous. I'm not sure what, but it's worse than just an affair." Linda's mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. She had known something wasn't right, but she hadn't expected it to be like this. Chike's lies hadn't just torn apart their marriage. They had also drawn her into the world she didn't belong in. The weight of Collar's confession hung over her like a storm cloud, threatening to break the fragile peace she had been building. She wasn't sure what to think, wasn't sure who she could trust anymore. Chike's betrayal, Cynthia's pregnancy, Collar's secret investigation. It was all too much, too complicated. But one thing was clear. Her life would never be the same again. Linda spent the next few days trying to process everything. Collar's revelation had shaken her to the core, but she couldn't deny the protective instinct he had shown. At the same time, the thought of being caught up in a dangerous game that involved her ex-husband now, was terrifying. She wasn't sure whether to feel grateful to Collar for looking out for her or betrayed by his secrecy. She needed to talk to someone, but the only person who had been there for her through it all was Amaka. They met in the park one afternoon. The cool breeze a welcome change to the suffocating thoughts that had been clouding Linda's mind. Amaka greeted her with a tight hug, sensing the tension in Linda's body. "Talk to me," Amaka said, guiding Linda to a bench. Linda sat down, her hands nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. "I don't even know where to start, Amaka. Everything's just a mess." Amaka waited patiently, her eyes full of concern. You don't have to explain everything at once. Just tell me what's been going on. Linda let out a long breath and began. Kola, he's been keeping tabs on Chike, watching him, and he didn't tell me until recently. He says it's because he wanted to protect me. But I don't know if I can trust him anymore. Amaka frowned. Kola, I don't know what to say. He's always seemed so genuine, so caring. But you've been through so much already. I can't blame you for feeling uncertain. Linda nodded, her thoughts a whirlwind. I don't know what's worse, Amaka, being in the dark or knowing too much. I can't imagine what you're going through right now, Amaka said softly. But whatever happens, you don't have to face it alone. You have me. Linda smiled, grateful for her friend's unwavering support. But still, the nagging feeling remained. Kola's secret investigation, the way his voice had cracked when he had told her everything. It wasn't just about protecting her anymore. It was about something deeper, something dangerous. Later that night, Linda found herself alone in her apartment, staring at the walls that had once felt like home. She wanted answers, wanted to understand the full scope of what had been happening behind her back. The sound of her phone ringing broke her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw Kola's name flashing. Part of her wanted to ignore it, wanted to shut out the world for just a little longer, but she knew she couldn't keep avoiding him. Hello, she answered, her voice hesitant. Linda, Kola said, his tone low. I know you have questions, and I know I've been keeping things from you, but I need you to understand. I never meant to put you in danger. I just... Kola, Linda interrupted, her voice firm. I need the truth, all of it. There was a long pause on the other end. When Kola spoke again, his voice was strained. There is more, Linda, much more than I've told you. Linda's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Kola, she pressed, the anxiety building in her chest. What's going on? I've been trying to protect you from the start, but there is something bigger at play here. Chike isn't just involved in a love affair, Linda. He's in deep with some very dangerous people. I didn't want to drag you into this, but it's not just about his betrayal anymore. I'm afraid for you. Linda's stomach turned. Dangerous people? Paula, what are you talking about? I'm not the only one who's been keeping an eye on Chike. He's been involved in some shady business deals for months. The affair was just a small part of the story. He's in over his head, Linda. And now that you're connected to him, you're a target. Linda felt the blood drain from her face. A target? You're telling me I'm in danger because of him? I'm sorry, Linda. I should have told you sooner, but I couldn't risk losing your trust. Now I'm asking you to trust me. You need to stay away from Chike. He's dangerous, and I don't want you caught in the crossfire. The weight of his words hit Linda like a freight train. Her world had already crumbled once. Now it felt like it was crashing down all over again. I don't know what to do, Linda whispered, her voice trembling. You don't have to make any decisions right now, Paula said urgently. But you need to stay safe. I'll help you, Linda. I'll make sure no one hurts you. Linda didn't know if she could believe him, but she knew one thing was for sure. Her life had taken a turn she could never have predicted, and now the choices before her were more dangerous than ever. As the night wore on, Linda's mind raced with possibilities. Should she trust Kola? Should she confront Chike? Or was she better off walking away completely? Whatever decision she made, Linda knew one thing. She would never be the same again.
Used to be the spark that lit up the night, but now you're just a flame that burns too bright. You thought you had me under your control, but I'm breaking free, gonna steal the show. You played your games, thought you had me fooled, but now it's time to face the truth. I'm stronger now, won't let you bring me down. I'm gonna rise up, gonna rock this town. You're just a bad dream, a faded memory. I'm